OCL beautiful souls, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Mamina. You can call me Mina for short. We're going to hop into this cosmic star family energy channeling messages for the collective. Make sure you only take what resonates to and for you, leave what doesn't. As with all spiritual advice, you want to make sure that you're tapping in. With all spiritual and higher conscious advice, you want to tap in, use your intuition, use your discernment. Make sure you're checking in and asking yourself, am I resonating with this because it's what I want to hear, or am I resonating with it because it's what I need to hear? Very important. I'm here for guidance and clarity, not to tell you what to do. So your decisions, your actions, and reactions to the messages are purely your own. If you want to have something that's catered to you that's more personal, you can book a reading. Be mindful, it's still up to you to use your discernment in that. Okay, this is all to help just heighten your ability to help wake you up. We're in the lionsgate right now, depending on where you are in the world. That activated about the 28th, around the 28th, and it's going to go until the 12th. So the 8-8 is the massive portal. Just think of it as like the portal, like exploding and expanding, super huge, and the energy is being very high. But even right now, the energies are very high. But we've been through all kinds of super moons this year. This is the year of the 5. The number 5 is so significant. The change, the bringing about the change. And no matter what type of astrology you do or believe or system you're using, the one collective definite is that we are in a change, we are in a massive shift, and that everyone can feel it, even those who would typically ignore it. But those of us who we play important roles and or we're meant to acknowledge it within self, more and more we're being drawn to things that help to activate and awaken that. Some of you are going through different ascension symptoms, you're going through different awakening symptoms, even if you find that you haven't completely committed to particular practice. So let's say you keep being drawn to Kundalini, but you haven't really committed to doing it, and yet you keep getting those feelings in your spine and in the center of your being, this alignment energy, this intertwinement energy. You find yourself looking them up and it says, oh, this is a symptom of Kundalini activating, and etc. It's because at this point in time we're activating, whether we like it or not. And anyone that stays in a low vibration has a harder time catching up to these energies. Those of us that go through the fatigue and we go through the other forms of the ascension symptoms, it's because imagine your soul. Keep in mind, your soul's infinite, right? It's infinite. It's a part of source. It's divine. It's magical. It's mystical. It's all that beautiful jazz. It's already light years ahead. It's already way up there. But we're in a time where Earth, the sky, everything is starting to bring this into alignment. Our physical body, however, it's been watered down, dumbed down. So now it has to recalibrate, it has to activate to fit what's happening within the soul and mind. So this is why for some people they're feeling the fatigue more mentally, others are feeling it more physically, and you can't quite explain it. We're having dreams where we're having visions. I want you to understand, I say this a lot and I like to educate you guys on this because it really helps when you start diving into deeper visions to stay balanced. You're only seeing about 10% of colors, the average person. 20% if you're lucky. There are those of us, like I could see colors that others don't normally see. And I can tell you what colors mix together to create it, but there's no name for it because no one typically uses it or barely notice it. A simple version of this is, let's take an existing color, like say burnt orange, right? Depending on the degree of that burnt orange, some people are going to go, oh, it's just red. That's just regular red. Others will go, oh, no, it's just orange. It's just regular orange, because they can't see the gradient. You're missing the gradients. I love reading the gradients, which is why even when reading chakras, I'll read the gradients, how they're translating and what they mean. As you activate and you start having these, when you're asleep, you're in the different realms, you're in different portals, you're in dream state. You start seeing colors, images, and shapes that you don't normally recognize or see in your everyday life. It's not that they're not there, they're just unseen to you. And as you start to recognize them, you can get overwhelmed with that information. Same thing can happen when you start getting into sacred geometry. Take this image here of this Metatron cube and how it's designed and all of the other shapes that go into it. Circle of the flower of life energy that also plays into it in sections. Most people are going to see that as just a flat image. They need some type of item in their hand to view it in another dimensional vision. But if you were to see it in its entirety, you would realize that that one shape can have so many different other shapes that reflect out of it. This is why we say a person can have multiple truths, because something can look one way to you, look one way to another, but it's all coming from the same source, or it's all coming from a similar energy. The more that we start to notice this with our mind, the more our soul starts to activate, the more the soul starts to activate, the more we find our body having to play catch up. So this is the time, especially with it being Lionsgate, to tap into getting the mind right, getting the body right, get into your courage, activate your creativity, activate your strong suits, and elevate beyond them. Believe that you have no limits. Push, push, push. But make sure that you are doing it in a way that's healthy, right? So if you find that you're moved to dance and movement, do so with intent. Pay attention to what you're listening to, because words have power, especially right now. So be mindful of how you're processing and taking in the lyrics or the content or even the musical vibration of what you hear. I'm going to have a whole nother thing about vibration another time, because this would make it really long if I tried to go that route with y'all right now. I'd rather do that like in a live or something. But we're going to hop on into the tarot. We're going to finish channeling these energies so that you know what's going on right now within the collective on a cosmic level. All right. I've already, of course, blessed over the cards. If you guys would like to sometimes see that process, let me know in the comments. If enough of you say so, then sometimes I'll include it. I typically leave it out because it can make videos take like a really long time. We have Wheel of Fortune, Destiny. Destiny, darling. I want you to pay attention to the two wings. We have bat wings down here and angel wings up here. That's going to be significant. I'm going to break that down. We have Five of Wands. We have what we have next. I'm starting to overheat. Some of you are feeling that heat in the base of the spine, the rising up the spine again, feeling the symptoms of Kundalini activating, feeling the symptoms of like old skin shedding, new skin coming in, the change. This feels like chapter 1. These first couple of cards feel like a chapter 1 or phase 1. I'm going to finish getting a few more cards out here. We'll take, okay, we will take all 3 of those. They're faced up. I do believe I'm going to go to the bottom of the deck here as well. We'll see if I pull any more. All right. The other 3 that we have that fell are the Two of Cups, the Queen of Wands, and the Emperor. We're going to do phase 1, and then I'm going to get into those 3. Wheel of Fortune, the Destiny. I want you guys to picture something with me for a moment here. If you wish to close your eyes to do so to see it more vividly. Picture a ship. The ship can look however it needs to look to resonate for you, but I want it to be in a certain time period so that you understand the gravity. So like a pirate type ship. It doesn't have to be a pirate ship, but it's in that time frame. Imagine that you can see it as an entity, you can see it as a person. Don't picture a specific person that's in your life, but just imagine that there's a figure. Could be a shadow figure, could be more defined. It takes the wheel of that ship and it completely turns it very, very powerfully, very dramatically off course. Just spins the wheel completely off course. Think of that entity and that energy representing karma in a negative sense. Represents challenges and conflicts and competition in a negative sense, right? Now, you don't have time to fight with that individual. You don't have time to snap at them. You got to grab the wheel. You have to grab onto it, and you have to now get the ship to turn correctly. But before you can do that, you have to fight the weight of the ship, how the water is also contributing to that weight, and you have to completely put all your strength, calculated strength I might add, into steering that ship back into a balanced state, because you need to balance it out before you can start steering and moving it where you need it to go. By this point, you might have been a bit off your course, or you might have went into a different direction. The significance of this vision is for you to understand what one half of this Five of Wands is representing right now. Half of this Five of Wands is representing a five that is, and by half I mean just imagine there's two fives, not to create a 10, but imagine there's a five that represents one element and a five that represents another element. We're going to break each one down. On the bat wing side, on the what's going away, what's phasing outside, we have people wanting to drag you down. You're leveling up soulfully, energetically, which means also in some sense in the material world. For some of you, it could be finances. For others, it's physical. It comes to you in layers. This life is in layers, right? And as you level up, there's people who want you to participate in doing the same toxic things that might have been because not everybody is like, okay, for the most part, I've only done a few bad things here and there. No, some people have actually been, influenced enough to do pretty harsh things themselves. And there are individuals who want you to stay in that toxic way. Think devil card energy, right? Addictions, toxic obsessions, things that are presented to you in seductive ways, but they're all bad all day, all the time. That kind of energy. You have a choice. You can participate in that. You can say, okay, I'm leveling up, I'm reaching higher heights, but I'm going to climb down and go back to where you are and participate in that foolery, knowing it's going to start me back from zero, because these people aren't in the red in a good way. Or we have the other part of the five. That part of the five is that in-between state. It's where you're holding the wheel and you're trying to balance it out, and you need calculated strength to do this. In that moment that you're dealing with that challenge, you are leveling up. Your arms are getting stronger. Your feet are getting more rooted, more grounded. You feel the elements around you, so you know how to get the elements to work to your benefit. How can the water help you versus be against you? How can the wind help you versus be against you? You are tapping into the part of you that is connected to every element in existence, connecting to every gate of who you are in order to get this ship to balance itself out and be on even waters, or we should say smooth waters, so that you can then go into smooth sailing. That's that in-between state. Those are the challenges that tend to appear, but in a far more natural sense when we're elevating up and we're not purposely staying in a lower vibration. As we elevate up, so take, for example, you have something you need to learn. You might say, oh, it's a curve to this. It's a little challenging learning this astrology or this or that. But you commit yourself to it. You start to enjoy it. And even though it's a challenge, it sparks you. This is Leo energy in Saturn. This is the Sagittarius energy in Mercury. You're flowing, you're leaving the karmic side of these challenges behind. Some of you are in the middle. You're at that part where you're holding the wheel and you're trying to balance your strength and get yourself in order. So you're going through that part of evolving. For others, you've transitioned out of that and you are now propelling forward. Swift action forward, shooting up. I'm also picking up on Seven of Wands energy, that like I'm standing true and strong in my belief and defending what I should about, setting the right boundaries and defending what I should about myself and not lowering myself down. This isn't defenders in confrontation, elevation. And then we have this Eight of Wands energy shooting off, lightning speed. The will is the destiny. You're choosing to take swift action towards your destiny, to receive the messages coming in that puts you on that defined, destined path. Now you can start to steer this ship now. Now you've gotten it even out. You can start to move it. But as you're moving it, you say, you know what? Father Wind, show me where to go. Mother Sea, guide me safely. Fire in the belly, activate, give me courage, so that if any storm appears, I know the storm is my ally and not my enemy. Now when those messages come in, they make sense. Now when you see those other gradients of colors, you're not overwhelmed, they make sense. Now when you see these other beings, these other entities, these other shamanic ascended masters who come to you in many different forms, you start to understand the dance and the play of life. You start to understand your existence beyond just this physical form, while also having appreciation for this physical form. Communication becomes far more, it's far easier to understand people. It's easier to explain yourself. And if sometimes there's something that you don't quite get, or the other person doesn't quite get, you take patience within yourself to have patience with that individual if it's something that you must hear. Rise. This is like judgment energy. This is like the horn being sound, or the frequency being sent. Those who hear it, because a lot of people can hear it. Don't get that twisted. Just because someone doesn't seem to be so-called woke or whatever you want to call it, doesn't mean they don't hear or feel that something's happening. It's just that they choose to stay ignorant. They choose to maybe even be arrogant to it. But they do hear or feel something. As you look up and you recognize what you hear, you're being told, rise. You have a role to play. You have a purpose that must play out. You have a destiny that is calling for you. The reason I use the word destiny and not necessarily fate is because fate is far more fixed and more of like a stuck energy. It's a settling energy. It's people who say, oh, well, my life seems okay. I'm bored. And not bored in the sense of oh, I don't have enough excitement because of some crazy other illusion, but bored in the sense of I know I should be doing something else. I feel like I'm searching for something. I'm looking, there's something else I'm meant to do. But this is comfortable, so I'm just going to stay here. It's when people have toxic hangups and they're like, I don't like this toxic thing that's being done to me, or that I may even participate in. But you know what? It's what I know. I know how the chips are going to fall. Quite, to be honest, they don't. That's an illusion in of itself. They can't control that chaos. They really can't. They think they can. That's why they're always surprised when something doesn't go according to plan, right? So it's saying I either stay in that energy, fighting, conflict, arguing with people who I don't need to be arguing with, worrying about trolls and this and that, or I shoot out of that, I elevate out of that. If they wish to think that that means I believe I'm above them, that's their personal struggle. That has nothing to do with me. Because when you truly fly and you start going forward, when you take off like a bow, Sagittarius is the bow. When you take off like a bow, shooting in that direction, the idea is to hit the target every time. That's the idea. To communicate, to flow, to take swift action. To know that what you're doing will help to evolve not only you, but the collective. So you really don't have time to bicker with others who purposely want you to not reach that level of success. This is for those of you who have people around you right now, especially, that every time you get an idea, every time you get this inspiration to do something magical, their anger comes out. And you start feeling tired and you start feeling drained. Even if it's not necessarily that person's intent, it's so hard to move. And when you're in a constant place that feels like it's always in conflict, it's so hard to be inspired. Or you'll get inspired, but then you're tired. For those of you in that energy, it is time to rise up out of that energy, to go through that challenge and get to the other side with no more excuses. You now have a portal. And this is a very real portal. You now have a portal that's open. Utilize the power. It is here for you to do so. Your enemy doesn't have a problem with it. I want you guys to understand that. Because a lot of times y'all listen to astrology, and because all of this is spiritual science. So because astrology is a part of that spiritual science, people get very technical with it. All things are flexible. This is why you have a fated path and a destiny path. Your destiny is far more flexible, but it has a whole lot of unknowns. There are things that no matter who you go to, you will not learn the answer until you experience it. Some of us are simply here to teach you how to tap into that form of yourself so that as you experience it, you can be grounded. You can let yourself fly. If the wind wishes to carry you somewhere, you allow it. This isn't to just be somebody blowing in the wind, but you're following the vibrations to understand how to be in flow, how to have depth, how to ignite your passions. It's a very powerful message right now. And what are you shooting towards other than goals, dreams, ambitions, and etc. We get to the next chapter of this, which is the Two of Cups. And I want you to pay attention. The imagery here is very important in this prism tarot. Do you see how the hands are being held down here? And you see how the two cups are up here. I want you to see this as two very distinct energies in this Two of Cups, which is Cancer and Venus. Think of the hands as soul tribe. We're all, when you come here, you hit the subscribe button and you're somebody that actually says, I want to elevate my consciousness. I actually want to tap into all of the unknown parts of myself and flourish in them. When you decide you're not here to destroy people, to bring anyone down, to be toxic, to be negative, but you're here to elevate, to expand. You want to see the expansion of your universe, of the universe around you, of other people. You're happy when you see people successful. You're happy when you experience success. You might have felt misunderstood, or you know that you were misunderstood in many a time. You felt alone. You felt that there were more closed doors than open, and now your perspective is changing because you're finding people who can communicate to you, who you can understand, and vice versa. You're building. The soul tribe is the community. They may not be people that you interact with every day. And even if they were people you interact with a certain amount of time a week, they may not be in your close vicinity, but you know that they're your tribe and they're your vibe, and that they're going to help you expand, and that you're helping them expand, that nobody thinks the other person is insignificant. Nobody thinks this. You're protective of each other. You rise above. That's tribe. Those connections are agreements. Those connections are partnerships. Those connections lead to success, clarity, victory. Now the two cups, which play a part into the hands, because that involves, once again, depth, emotions. Your emotions is your soul's expression. Your emotions are what contributes to your dreams, what contributes to manifestation. When you guys be like, what's my manifestation hack? Emotions. That's one of the biggest ones. Words are cool. Writing them down are cool. Before our ancestors wrote in the written word they were used to, they wrote in the most powerful forms, which was symbols and hieroglyphics. Because symbols and hieroglyphics reflect the sound vibration. Our first language was sound, not words. Then it started to become that. It turned into that much later. Which is why I'm always telling you guys that your words have power, that your tone, literally how you use your tone in a conversation has power. And it can be hard sometimes to get that under control. When you get passionate about something, you can come off mad. You got to be careful, because that's the tone, right? So, and that's a whole nother aspect that would take like probably a good hour. That's something for like a live, for like a Q&A or a back and forth that I'll do. But all of this is to say, when we're coming together into different partnerships and unions and connections, we're tapping into elements. We're tapping into depth. We must be of depth to truly connect. Sometimes we connect to people because they're meant to be some type of lesson to us. We're meant to be a lesson to them. And I'm not talking about toxic karmics, which are still a lesson point, but they tend to come in again as a negative disruption, or as something in your life you didn't love, or something that's been maybe implanted in you and you've been attached to and didn't realize you were attached to. But I'm talking about some people come in and you can sense that something's pretty decent or cool about them. You might get along, you might even care about them, and then they do a total 180. Let them 180 and shift out your life. Accept the 5 when it comes as change. When something goes, let it go. What's meant for you will elevate with you or come back to you. But you do not sit there saying, I'm going to chase this friend, I'm going to chase this ex. You elevate into connections and partnerships that have depth. Okay? The Two of Cups. The connection between divine souls that are meant to unify and connect. You've been given this idea that you have to be lonely. You don't have to be lonely, but you have to be okay with being with yourself. If you realize you're with yourself, you realize you're never alone, because you're a part of the divine, and the divine is part of the tapestry of life. You are never by yourself. There is no hermit journey where the hermit is actually alone. The hermit is going within themselves to seek inner wisdom from the higher source that they are connected to, doing so as a high force. They're tapping into the unknown self, and I'll have more on that. They're healing their shadow self. They're tapping into their other forms of higher self, all to gain wisdom that they can utilize and share, like the mystic shamanic journey, in this world. So you're never by yourself, even in these moments where you say, I'm seeking stillness. To seek stillness is to seek oneness. And oneness is not singular, contrary to popular belief. I am. That is the you meeting the me and you becoming the we, and the we is the us. So I am is not simply singular as you're taught in modern English. It's actually already a plural. I am that I am is saying that I am all things, which means I am also nothing. And in being nothing, I am everything. I am that I am. I am the beginning of sound, the beginning of nature, the beginning of connection, matter turning into water, turning into vapor, becoming essence, essence that chose to become matter. This is the cycle, circle of life, Hakuna Matata type of vibe. You see what I'm trying to say? All of these different things, and for some of you, these are symbols like the Hakuna Matata, the Lion King. You might want to watch Black is King and different things like that. Pay attention to the cycles within the stories. You are constantly on this journey to explore and learn different forms of self. So every person you connect to is another divine version of yourself. When somebody goes rogue, when somebody accepts a negative entity, or they already are one, becoming whatever that may be, that is a part that has disconnected. That's why we say go rogue, or rather why I say it goes rogue. Is there a chance for such a soul to find their way back? That depends on that soul. You cannot water yourself down, dumb yourself down, lower your vibration. You must focus on sacred connections. When you come into your divine unions, when you actually, and this is whether you're on the soulmate journey or the twin flame journey, whatever it is, these terms, whatever, when you find that which is worthy of you, I always tell you guys, what do you hear me say? What you allow is what you receive and what you'll get. So you have to already be prepared to be in a heightened state. You help to elevate. And those of you in the divine feminine energy, we're going to get into the Queen of Wands. Those of you in the divine feminine energy, and I'm going to break this down, especially for those of us that are the container of the divine feminine. Understand that energy is an activating energy. It is the birthing energy. It is the core energy. It is that omega enlightenment that you're reaching for. So when you say to yourself, why I got to do all the work, why because you're that activating energy. There's a Chinese proverb that goes along the lines of, when women wake, mountains move. Because when that divine feminine energy wakes up, it is ready to birth into existence what is necessary, and it will shift and move and mold. Look at your earth. What does your earth do? Shift, move, it'll flood something, it'll rise something up. This is that energy. The masculine energy helps to bring in the order so that that other energy isn't so sporadic or just going haywire. It's also the circle that puts its arms around to protect. It doesn't make you weak. And it's funny because there's actually a person that I love dearly that actually said something similar when she was talking about the portal. And it's very true. Because you've lived in a society that makes you think women are weak, which means that there's this need to battle against that, which means that even those who simply just resonate with being feminine, regardless of sexual occupation, we're not talking about sexual occupation, but when they resonate with being in a feminine energy, they're told that they're being weak. This is an energy that births life. This is your space. Father Sky, Mother Earth exists in the womb of space, which is the cosmic dance between the feminine and masculine energy. There's nothing minuscule about what I'm talking about here. This is far beyond what your complexes are about what you may identify as or what your occupation sexually is. This is far deeper than that. Without these two energies, you don't exist. Period. There's no if, there's no and. This isn't debatable. You just don't. Your science comes from this. Your technology comes from this. Not your artificial technology. That's like you playing at it. But your pyramids, all these other things that you're trying to mimic and learn and see, and you're so curious about it. You keep wanting to ask the question of why. All of those answers exist in your frame because you were made from that divine connection. So when you activate and you stand in power within that feminine energy, which means that you're balanced with the masculine energy, mountains will move. Whether you be in the container or you simply resonate. When you're in the container, divine feminists, tap into your womb space. Tap into the yoni. Tap into connecting to your body. Tap into connecting to your sensual essence. The Queen of Wands is sensual. She's magical. She's alluring. When she's in her power and she's in her divinity, she can create magic with just the sheer feeling of wanting it. That's all. She realizes the power of her I am. And because she's in the wand suit, she represents that masculine part of the feminine energy. Being in balance, being respectful of these two energies, loving and respecting each other. Now, bring in the leadership that comes with, and keep in mind, Aries energy. What was I talking about earlier? Power, strength, courage. We have Aries here, which represents power. We have the Emperor, who represents authority and pretty much bossing up, taking the lead without fear, but with clear intent and direction. I always say in my readings, because I channel energy, I channel divine beings, I channel essence. The cards are to help you understand what I'm channeling. So for me, the Emperor represents all the kings in one body, but amplified in his strongest area in power. So that means he has the diplomatic part of him. He has the give and receive part of him. He has the emotionally balanced part of him, but he executes each one with power and conviction. That's how he rolls. Aries, of course, brings in Mars energy, right? Mars energy in this divine energy would be courage and power, would be saying, I'm taking the lead. For those of you who don't understand how to take the lead because you're so used to people making you feel small, you're so used to somebody making you feel like your ideas aren't good enough, you're being told by far greater powers that there is no such thing. The moment you took breath, the moment you chose to exist, the moment that something else said, I deem you worthy to exist, you had a purpose. You had multiple purposes. I like to break it down and keep it simple for you. Think of your purpose as two energies. One purpose represents something more personal to you in this incarnation, something that you've connected to, that you love, that helps you to express your higher self, express who you are deep down inside, right? That purpose plays into the purpose of the collective, which is to unify. Not unify by controlling and manipulating, but unifying through protection, through guidance, through acceptance, through heightened awareness, through respect, through love. Because love is at the heart of all of this, which is why this Two of Cups even came out. Whether it's divine union or other forms of sacred partnerships, it is saying, I respect your existence. I see the God and goddess in you. I see the divine essence of who you are. And I'm not going to act like it's blasphemous to recognize your power when something so magical decided to participate in this dance and birth all of this into existence to begin with. From the sound to the frequency to the colors to the beautiful destruction to the beautiful birth that comes afterwards, and so on and so forth. And I'm going to break down the word destruction at another, a later date. But just understand what phases out now, the people who try to drag you down, you have a choice in saying, I'm either going to participate in that. And mind you, the stronger your mission is in this world, the more that there are going to be circumstances that it's going to be like Tower Groundhog's Day for you until you figure it out. Because you have to move forward of your own choice. But every time you don't move forward, there's a consequence for that. And newsflash, sometimes those consequences, that's not some God playing with you. That's your own higher self, because it knows you more than anyone else. And it's telling you, I know that you're not moving on XYZ because of this hang up, this trigger, this problem, this bad influence, and etc. Be mindful of your influences. Some people are out here talking about unity, connection, disclosure, show me the truth, show me this, that, and the third. You can't accept yourself or the neighbor that's right next to you. You think you're going to be able to accept these beings coming to talk to you on a regular basis? See, I don't sugarcoat things here. We don't do that here. All said with love, but we definitely keep it a buck around here. Okay, we're going to get into the bottom of the deck, which is confirming what I was talking about. We have balancing energies. Ooh, and the card under that. Yeah. Thank you, Spirit. Thank you. We have balancing energies coming out here. We have prosperity wanting to come in, saying, listen, get things in order. You are a multidimensional being that can do multidimensional things. This physical realm can be flexible for you, should you allow it to, but you must get in balance. What was I saying about steering that ship, right? The card under that, the Ace of Swords. Success, clarity, choosing your north node with a clear mind in a meditative state, because I feel like meditation is important here with the 2 being present in the first place. Underneath that, we have my sign, the Virgo sign. We have the 10 of Pentacles. The legacy that you create, the happiness that you create. And underneath that, we have the Ace of Cups. My cup runneth over. It feels like bathing in your own essence and accepting who you are. The top of the deck is calling to me. We have, look at that, Queen of Cups, that intuition, that balancing, that depth, that compassion. We have Hangman. Hangman energy's been coming out for a while. There's something I have clients do that, I personalize it. So if it's something you wish to have, you could book a soul session with me. But understand, read the terms when you do soul sessions, because what you learn and what you write down is something to put in practice for 21 days. So be mindful of that. But I have you lay down, if your back, can handle it. Put yourself in some state where you can see your head is where you can look at things upside down. And just look around your room. Just look around the space. And then while you're still looking, without blinking, you slowly sit upright, and you notice how like you feel that everything is tilting and coming back into that like upright position. Now in that moment, what looks different? What did you notice when you were inverted, and what did you notice once you came back into your upright state? That's as simple as an explanation as I like to give whenever this card comes out and is saying to take another view. It's not always about being in a suspension state in the sense of a pause. Sometimes you can think about it, you can have your head upside down when you're chilling in a car, or and something that's in movement. You can be laying a certain way and the world is sideways, or how many things as you're in motion are you taking time to look at from different perspectives? What was I talking about earlier? I believe I mentioned the geometry, or at least it was in my head too, but I believe I did. Channeling is going so fast, but when you look at geometry, it has different shapes to it. That's what we mean when we say different truths. So how many times are you checking all the different shapes? See, that brings us right back to that Virgo energy, because what we do is we analyze. In our most natural divine state, we are analyzing. We are thinking how to put what we analyze into a practical sense. We're not just thinking of how does it make sense in an earthly realm, contrary to popular belief. That's something that's pretty much forced on the sign, being that it's an earth sign. But we're thinking about it for everything, for the depth. This is why we love emotion. This is why we love connection. This is why we love to cater to those that we feel a connection to, because we love depth. That's emotions. We love the spark of passion. That's our creativity. We love to actually soar in our mind. That's that swords energy, that clearing. I like to say air energy, but sword makes sense if you think of the sense of like cutting through something, cutting through the fog, so to speak. This is the energy that when you're actually in the Virgo's alignment. So imagine if your other signs in your chart help to advance that, or if you can figure out your chart and know which parts of your attributes to advance upon. Whenever you look at your chart, don't just look at it as the science of the chart. Look at it as you, because you've lived a certain life, you've lived a certain path, you've taken certain actions, and those things have increased certain parts of you more than others. Don't be so just stiff, I can't move. 10 of Swords, I'm just pinned down to the ground. Don't be in that box. Don't be 8 of Swords trapped in one way of thinking. Look at all avenues. You don't have to overwhelm yourself with it, but it'll surely bring in a far more clear vision than what you might have been accepting all the other times before. There's great connection, success, and legacy that's calling for those of you who resonate with this right now. You've been dreaming these things already. You just need to remember who you are. And the Lion King is channeling so hard. I know that there's also somebody very specific that this is apparently for as well. But many of you are going to resonate with that remembering of who you are. But to remember who you are means you can't just talk it. You got to walk it. You got to act like it. It has to be an authentic expression. We're going to get into the dice. And then we're going to call it. These dice always want to fall all over the place. They just kind of like just throw them anywhere. Look at that. Once again, just throw them anywhere. Not like I have a box for them to land in. Let's do that one more time. Okay. We have 2. We have 30, which is 3. Another 2, so 22. You might find yourself needing to look at 232 or 223. We have 17, which is also 8. We have another 3, an 8, and then we have 333. And I'm also seeing 11 in my mind's eye. I'm also seeing 777, 711, 986. So these numbers could be your life path numbers. They could be a time, a date, different things that resonate with you as you've watched this reading. For many of you, if they're a date, there's something coming up. Seasons that are important is right now. Winter season has been channeling in. It's very important also. So there's certain things you want done by winter, and then there's certain things that are going to pick up as winter comes in. So use this time to get the body right, get the mind right, get the spirit right, so that you're ready to receive all the good things and flush out all of the negative things and elevate. And remember, as you elevate as an individual, you elevate your divine connections, your sacred, your soul tribe is your community, your soul family, other than, of course, when it means your soul team, like your ancestors and etc. Your soul family are the people who come in your life and they feel like family, or those relatives that you can connect to on a soulful level. And of course, your divine counterparts. As you get yourself ready, and divine feminists, again, this energy keeps coming in, this womb space energy coming in flow with the masculine. As you activate yourself, you are helping to move the mountains. You are helping to shift the conscious back into place. It's that thing that's been buried, the quote unquote her story that's been buried, is rising up. And as it rises, all of us, man, woman, child, indifferent, will have to connect to that inner divine feminine energy to truly appreciate the masculine energy, to be honest, because it is through that energy that masculine was born. It is in the womb of space that all these other things exist. And then that masculine energy helps to create the matter that forms the very vessels that we are in right now. So it's about getting all of this in alignment and accepting and appreciating each other's existence on a very high plane, and respecting these energies and not watering them down or trying to sugarcoat them. That one side being completely insensitive and the other side being overly sensitive. It's not about that. Those of you who resonate with like the Devis and Shiva and that, you're going to find this time very crucial. Use these portals wisely, my loves. Peace, love, and light, beautiful souls.